Right. Well, we'll make a start. So my name is John Ridd. I'm the Group Manager, Customer and Community. We've just got a couple of procedural things to go through. I'll just open with Carrie Kia. We'll kick into procedural stuff, and then I'll hand over to the chair when that's been done. So Carrie Kia Tata. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raho, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho, tuia tato te tangata, ki te kaupapa o te hui nei, ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei, mauri ora kia tātou katoa. Okay, so the first item is 7.1, and that's about appointing a chair and a deputy chair to this committee. So first, I need a move and a seconder first for these following recommendations. The first one is to confirm Councillor Campbell-Rollo. God, my voice today, start again. Councillor Campbell-Rollo as chairperson of the Joint Saxton Field Committee. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Got a mover?
I could do it this order. I'm happy to move Campbell-Rollo as chair, and I'd also like to move Councillor Kittermont as deputy chair.
Okay. So you need so who seconded?
I'm happy to say seconded.
All in favour?
Aye.
Against? None. Carried. I'll hand over to Councillor Rollo.
Thanks, Officer Rick, and Morena, and welcome everyone. Just as we start this first Saxton Field Committee, joint Saxton Field Committee meeting of the term, can I firstly welcome our new councillors to the Saxton Field Committee, which is absolutely all of you, apart from Kit, who's returning after 6 years away, and a special congratulations to Nigel, Timo and Sarah on your outcomes of being elected to the council, and Mike for being re-elected as well. So congratulations, and also acknowledge the fact that we've lost Councillor Skinner, Alison Murray to other commitments within the council. I know the Saxton Field Committee was one that they were very keen on, and the rumour is they'll be watching probably on Zoom or on the live stream as well to make sure we're doing a good job. So acknowledge the work that they gave in the past as well, and also acknowledge former independent chair Derek Shaw, who's left, I think, Saxton Field in a very cool place, and for him to chair two councils working together on something very exciting, I think he brought some very good skills and mindset to that. So just like to acknowledge Derek Shaw as well for his work. Just a few housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the council's YouTube channel. Please use your microphones and have them muted unless you're speaking. Hands up for questions. There may be people watching online, so welcome to those people, and those in the gallery, welcome. The toilets are out the door and to the left, I believe. I'm new to TDC, so I'm just taking that as a guess. And the fire exits are the door we come in and the door over here behind the officers that say exit. Is that correct? There we are. I've done my health and safety. And a special welcome as well to the media who are present here this morning. All right. We have no apologies, so it is great to have you all here as well. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jake Inwood, who's going to present on behalf of Nelson Cricket.
Thank you, Councillor Rollo. So thank you for having me here today. Just for those that don't know me, my name is Jake Inwood. I am the GM of Nelson Cricket. A little background on me is that I grew up in Nelson, moved away for university, where I studied a Bachelor of Commerce and went into the sports sector. So I've now got just over 12 years sector experience in a range of governance and management roles, ranging both the regional and national bodies in a variety of sports. Because it's such a new committee this year, or this term, I thought it was a good opportunity to get back in front of you, introduce myself as well as cricket, because Saxton Field does play a very important role for us. I'm aware that there is a paper that's going to both councils shortly, so I'm happy to talk to that at an appropriate time, but for now it's more around what Nelson Cricket is, what our direction is, and how we're going. A few of you may be aware that in the past, or recent past, we had a few troubles at Nelson Cricket and struggled financially, and we've turned that ship around now. We've got a very strong board that's been stable over the last 2-3 years with a range of high cricket expertise, business expertise, legal expertise, financial, and just providing excellent oversight for the direction of Nelson Cricket. In conjunction with that, our staffing has been stable over the last 2 years, which prior to me coming on board, there'd been quite a turnover in my seat with various reasons, with my predecessor joining the police force in Nelson, and then the one before that returning to Christchurch, where his family is. We do have a strategic plan in place that running from 2024 to 2027 with 3 key pillars that we're looking at. The first one is around our people and looking at growing our coaches in particular, ensuring that we have high numbers of coaches that provide quality coaching experiences for all participants within the sport. The second is partnerships or partners, and that's around growing our partnerships with stakeholders such as the Saxton Field Committee, as well as some of our key sponsors such as Nelson Pine and MBS. The third one is the game space, and that's all around everything around on-field play, and the main priority in that space is growing the women and girls sector. So in terms of recent wins for Nelson Cricket, there's a few that I would like to highlight for the committee, and the first one, which I alluded to before, was around the financial sustainability of our organisation. Over the last 3 years, we've posted 3 surpluses, some very modest, but surpluses nonetheless when other cricket regions or district associations within CD are not posting surpluses, and some of them are in really tough financial times, which has meant that we've increased our retained earnings to a point where we can start looking at how we invest in our sport on a small scale, as well as ensuring that we can weather any storms such as COVID-19 if it were to happen again or something similar. That financial sustainability did lead us to investing in the indoor cricket centre at Saxton Field. In the last 12 months, we converted the 4-lane training facility so that we could have 1 indoor cricket court. This was born out of the Indoor Action Centre deciding no longer to offer indoor cricket as they moved to a more profitable inflatable bouncy castle playground thing. I'm not really too sure of the details on that one, but that led us to having 30 teams across our first season, which included the first women's only indoor cricket competition in Nelson, which was really, really exciting. That ran from May through to August and just helped increase the utilisation of that great building that we've got at Saxton Field. The next one is around our participation, and I guess every sport models themselves and sort of hangs their success on how you're growing. And over the last 3 years, we've grown team numbers across our summer competitions by 28%. There's been a couple of key areas of growth. The first one is in the year 3 and 4 space. There's 2 key reasons for that. One is this year we introduced a variation to the game called machine ball cricket, which is led by Gary McDonald and Chris Cairns. The concept's very simple. Kids at that age struggle to bowl, similar to with baseball. To take the bowling out, more balls get hit, more fielders have come into play, and it's an overall better experience for the players. And we've seen that come to life with the age group, and the parents love it as well. Very simple. Well, I call it simple, but the technology is probably quite difficult. But just spring arms, so the parents release the ball when the kid's ready to hit the ball, and you carry on. The other area that we've seen significant growth is in our Friday night social league down at Green Meadows in particular, and also around the country teams. So we've seen Dovedale come back in, and Marpole have a senior team this year for the first time in a number of years. The other exciting part, which if any of you follow us on Facebook, you would have seen, was last year we had Golden Bay come back into the Nelson Cricket second division for the first time in, I think it was 25 years. Went to the final last year, went to the final again this year, but unfortunately tripped at the final hurdle against Stoke both times. But they've got a really strong contingent of passionate cricketers out that way. And when we went over there to help them with their first junior session this year, we thought they were turning up to about 20 kids to have a go. It was close to 80. So the support that we can put into that region is awesome. Then finally, just around our women and girls space, it's an area that New Zealand cricket has been putting a lot of emphasis on over the last sort of 10 years, and we've taken our own stance on it and developed our own women and girls strategy that goes out to about 2032. It's ambitious. I've unashamedly said I'd love to be the home of women's cricket in New Zealand, and I think we took a real step towards that this year when we hosted the North vs South games at Saxton Oval with some of the key decision makers in the women's game here from New Zealand cricket. They thoroughly enjoyed being here. They love the venue there. They love the changing rooms. They love the pavilion. They love the ground. Obviously, the weather's great usually, and so that's a really cool aspect to that. And I'm hoping to get more of those types of games back here to promote women's cricket. But closer to home, that the real, I guess, win this season was launching our Nelson Women's Cricket Club. It's a concept that's been used successfully around the country, both in Manawatu and Wairarapa, is where we got a lot of information and modelled it from. We know that young girls in particular love playing with their mates. It makes it enjoyable. We don't have enough to have a girls-only competition yet. And so the best thing we could do was provide an environment whereby they would go into a team full of girls so that they had the opportunity to participate, didn't feel like they were being judged, and again, coming back to they played with their mates. It was one of those scenarios we didn't know what it would turn out to. It could be a complete flop or it could be a great success. I think it's been a huge success. We've got 5 all-women's teams ranging from that year 3 and 4 grade where there's 2, a teenage team in our secondary school grade, as well as a women's team in our Friday night social grades. So those numbers are very, very promising. Now we're looking at how do we continue that growth? How do we get more support into the women's coaching and grow female coaches so that they can lead those spaces and make it a more enjoyable and safe environment for our young women in Nelson. So that, in a nutshell, is what I wanted to come and share with you, just a little bit of what Nelson Cricket is, who I am, and where we're going. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any, otherwise I'll leave you to your business.
Cool. Thank you, Jake. Are there any questions? Councillor Kirby.
John, I was really excited to hear that there's so much stoke for women and girls in the game. What are some of the barriers to growth for women that you've identified?
So with cricket being a traditional male sport, a lot of the barriers that we've identified through surveys were around not being able to play with mates, not getting opportunities when they're in boys' teams, and then obviously the equipment comes into it. So up until recently, white pants, not great for teenage girls.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yep. And so those are the little steps that we're taking to get things right, create an environment whereby they're playing with their mates, they've got equipment that's suitable to them, and then we're just hoping that from there we get a good cohort here, and then next year bring a few mates each, and then the year after it's a few more, and then in the not too distant future we're setting up a girls only competition, and that's the ultimate goal, because then we can start growing those other spaces. It's very young in Nelson at the moment, and it has led to us struggling at Shrimpton Trophy, which is the CD senior women's tournament, against some of those other teams like Hawke's Bay who have quite a few hinds. Manawatu have a very strong women's program. So what we've done this year is joint with Marlborough to create Te Tauihu Otuaka, so that we bring together the best of both, or best of the top of the south. And we actually came second this year with that team, which was very, very exciting.
Cool. Thank you, Jake. There is no further questions, so we do thank you for your presentation and acknowledge the work that Nelson Cricket's done and the honesty that you're now able to share about the situation that cricket's in. So thank you very much. All right, we move on to item 4 of the agenda, which is declarations of interest, and I just ask if there are any. I would just like to note for myself, if I may, that I'm still a board member currently of Hockey Nelson, but we'll be working alongside the good deputy chair and the staff to make sure there is no further issues around that. Item 5 of the agenda here is a late item that has been received that we do need to move into confidential for. Councillor Timo.
Can I ask why that item needs to be confidential?
I'll read it out first, and then we can get some advice on that question. I'm learning how to chair as we go. So the late item is 8.1. International Cricket Saxton's Field Outfield Renewal, NCC report. Late covering report be considered at today's meeting in accordance with section 46A/7 of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and Standing Orders 9.12. The reason the item was not on the agenda is because it was moved from the council's agendas to enable the committee to consider and recommend to Nelson City and Tasman District Councils, and the reasons that this item can't be delayed until a subsequent meeting is to enable a timely decision be made to subsequent council meetings. Sorry about some of the words I got wrong there. So your question is, why do we need to move into confidential? Officer Rid will provide us with an answer.
Yeah, the advice I'm being given is there's some commercial sensitivities in it, so we just want to have a confidential conversation with the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm happy to move that we move into confidential when the time is, well, we receive that late item and we'll move into confidential towards the end. Can I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So notes, we're moving into confidential at the end of the meeting. Sorry, Max, so you can stay. We've got some good stuff to discuss first. All right. Item 6 is the confirmation of the minutes. Being the first meeting of the term, I can confirm there are no minutes for us to review. So we'll move on to item 7, which is the reports. And I will welcome Officers Light and Callaghan, who will present the Saxton Field activity report. And I note we've got other staff in the room, so we can go through it. May I just ask the officers, given we have got a relatively new committee, if you could go through kind of item by item, but do keep it super high level. We don't need detail on absolutely everything. We're aware that we'll have time in the near future to discuss it, but if you can kind of just give us background on everything, that would be much appreciated. And I'm quite happy to take questions as they come in. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Paul Harrington. I'll just give a brief overview of this report. This is a report, it's really an update report, and it's come to the committee regularly for the last couple of terms. And I just wanted to say, look, with a new committee, please feel free to let us know if you'd like a different format, if you'd like it pitched at a different level, more detailed, less detailed, or if there's any other aspects you'd like included, because it has been it's just a regular item that comes up, and we're more than happy to adjust as you need. So in the past, we've really just worked through it, as you say, item by item. So happy to do that and take questions as we go through, if that works.
And feel free, Paul, if it is a different staff member to talk to an item, just hand it to them. That's perfectly fine.
Sure, will do. So the first item is mine, is the one I'll talk to, which is the Saxton Oval Media Towers. So permanent media towers at Saxton Oval will make the venue more attractive, both aesthetically, but also in terms of bidding for games, and it would provide a plug and play venue for those bringing fixtures to the region. It has been discussed for a number of years, and there was budget put into the long-term plan for an investigation this financial year. So So that's been done now. We've engaged Veros Consultants, and they've coordinated a two-phased report, which the second phase is attached to this report. Much of the first phase is included in the second phase as well. The first phase was really just an introductory exploration. So they've worked with stakeholders, professionals and others to look at other venues around the country and look at what might be appropriate for Nelson, for Saxton Field. And they have produced a preliminary concept designs and pricing. They've had a quantity surveyor involved as well. So this is attached for information only. There's no decision or anything being requested today, but it was a really successful process, and it's great to have this, what is a pretty comprehensive bit of work done, and it will be useful probably, I would expect, for future activity management plan and long-term plan discussions. So yeah, more than happy to take any questions on that one.
Kit.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Look, I'd be more happy to discuss this at a workshop in the future, because I think there are other priorities as well as towers for the Oval, and 1.7 million, which is I think what I read in the report, seems a bit over the top to me, and certainly I wouldn't expect the ratepayers to fund all of that. I would expect Nelson Cricket, who would have access to funding avenues that the council doesn't, to be involved. So, because if you look at the budgets for both councils that I've seen, I think there's considerable pressure, particularly in the Three Waters area.
Through the chair, that's, yep, take that on board. I forgot to mention that is the price that came out through the QS was 1.7, and that includes some pretty nice design to make it aesthetically in keeping with the Saxton Oval Pavilion. So that there could be cheaper options if it didn't look like that, but absolutely it would be a matter for future workshopping, I would imagine. Moving on to the next item is the Radio New Zealand land. That's a matter that's been discussed previously in confidential due to the negotiations, and that is ongoing. The next item is on the Saxton Field MOU. So just on that, so staff have been liaising with the stakeholder. Well, just for background, the Saxton Stadium was originally constructed through the good efforts of an incorporated society, and they were established to fundraise and to push that project forward. After the construction, an MOU was developed that I should say that society represented 4 different codes. That was basketball, netball, table tennis, and volleyball. And the society represented those codes, and an MOU was established with the council, Nelson City Council, to just around the bookings and how that stadium would be used, to make sure that they had a good representation in there. That expired last year, and we've since been working we've approached all those codes and many times for some that haven't responded, and we have had responses from some. They were generally responding in terms of the fees, and that's not something that was included in the MOU. So we've more or less recommended or come to a position where we don't feel that an MOU is needed. If the committee would like that workshopped and discussed further, then we're more than happy to do that in future. But as it is at the moment, that MOU has expired, and much of the content that was in the MOU, if not all of it, is in the contract with the facility manager anyway. So that can be something we can certainly bring back to the table if needed.
Councillor Malin.
So I've got 2 questions, Paul. So I want to go back to the radio towers first. I note that they were dismantled over the last few months. When they were dismantled, did they remove the copper wire underneath?
No, they didn't.
No. So that's still to be done?
Yeah, it's still there, and I don't have it in front of me, but I do have the detail of the depth and how much of it there is, and it probably is pretty significant, and quite a mission to get out, I would imagine.
So will we be discussing that in confidential?
Not today, no.
Right, so we could workshop that?
Yep.
And in terms of the MOU, I'd like to know the background to how that stadium was funded. So to me, that would need to be done at a workshop as well, because that would affect my decision making on whether an MOU is the proper thing to retain or not. So I'd like to know the background, because I spent 9 years on this committee, and I don't remember us ever discussing how that was funded during that time, because it was all done before then. So I think it would be worth the committee getting that historical information before we make any decisions.
Nigel.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So at the moment, the MOU is just with the 4 codes. Is that correct? And if so, what are the other codes and sports that are here in Saxton? What are they operating under? Are they under a general commercial type agreement, or they just fall under that umbrella of the MOU?
So the MOU was actually between the society and the council, and the society was dissolved in 2017. So the MOU is finished. It was between effectively representing those 4 codes. The others are just on a usage agreement, which everyone is as well. So the MOU really just guided the bookings, and those codes are mentioned in the agreements anyway. So as priority users, so it's something that we could definitely bring back to a workshop and bring you all the background in detail.
Thank you, and just acknowledging to the committee that I was in some discussion with officers yesterday, and I did have had an amendment proposed that we do seek a workshop on this. The advice I've received from the staff is an amendment is not required, but the feedback will be taken on board. So we will have a workshop regarding that as well. So the amendment that I did look to table won't take place, but the staff have taken on board a workshop regarding that matter in the near future.
Sure. Just moving on to the next item, which is the proposed cross-country route. Athletics Tasman came to the committee sometime last year, I think, and essentially talked about a route that they've been using for regular cross-country races and events, and wanted it included in the development plan, not so much as a built item, but just as a route to be protected and not built out. So there was a resolution from the committee, which I have in front of me, but it was essentially that this could go into the development plan, providing on the back of satisfactory engagement with stakeholders. So Debbie's carried out that stakeholder engagement, talked to all the codes. No one had any problems with it. So the next step is just to formalise that by indicating it on the development plan. This little line, don't build anything there, and it's included as a trial. So the development plan's got an item later on. We can talk to it then, but that would be brought back to another meeting, potentially workshopped as well.
Cool. Just a question from me on that. Given it's coming from an organisation that I guess working alongside them, is this something that we will be looking through our fees and charges at utilising for when the track's getting used, or will it simply just be a recreational area?
Yeah, part of the agreement is that they need to book. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah, they need to book it. So there would be a fee, I imagine, when they do that.
I guess that will go to the councils through the annual fees and charges review, which will happen very soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next item.
Hang on, so we've just got a question from Mike. Councillors, I'm just going to go by your first names until I get all your surnames right. I don't want to be the chair that gets them wrong. So you're going by your first names for 3 years.
Please. Paul, being a newbie here, you've got to accept that I'm not able to play here. But with the devolution of the MOU and you're going to a booking system, does this open up these councils to any health and safety issues or anything that any risk management, any issues like that? Like if there's any injuries, if there's anything that happens like damage to the grounds, who repairs it? What's the council's liability to any health and safety type accidents, injuries, that sort of thing, with the removal of the MOU?
Through the chair, I'm not sure health and safety was mentioned in the MOU. It was more around booking priority. So the MOU was specifically around Saxton Stadium. So it wasn't around any other sports outside around Saxton Field. So I don't think there'd be any impact on health and safety from the MOU being there or not.
Thank you, Campbell.
That's right, and I guess I can assume that to help Mike out, that the sports and different codes, if there are health and safety issues, are raising them with the council or the contractor within the stadium. It may be worth at some point getting a bit of a sheet or a report, just making sure that the facilities are up to scratch and we're not seeing any ongoing or common themes here around health and safety. So that may be something to add to the next report as well.
Sure. Next item is just a note on crickety, which is Samoan cricket. It's pretty informal as a game when compared to the standard cricket, but very, very successful. The big numbers have been turning out, and they've been using Harakeke Green, which is the one opposite the freezing works. There's literally about 100 people can turn out on a good day, and it's completely alcohol-free, really good community event. The only issue is they need quite a lot of space. They have quite a long bat and a ball that's kind of rubbery, and when they hit it, it goes a heck of a long way. So finding a good space for them has been quite a challenge. They're okay where they are for now. They don't need a fully developed ground, but at some point in future, there is a plan to develop that into formal football and cricket grounds. So we're just keeping an eye on that and working with them as best we can. And there may be even somewhere outside of Saxton Field that we can find for them.
Paul, just question from me regarding there where we note that it's alcohol free, that's not putting a stigma or anything against other users that it's an alcohol free event. I mean, I would assume most sports out there, unless I've got a liquor license, would be alcohol free.
Yeah, you're probably right. This is just something they promote amongst themselves. That it is a big community event, but it's not like a picnic where you bring alcohol. They're quite strict about it.
Yeah, sure. I just saw that in the report, and I thought, well, we're not wanting to share a signal to other users that these guys are alcohol free, so you can't be or whatever. So yeah, just a note there as well.
Point. Yep. Okay. Moving on to capital projects. So the proposed regional skate park, I'll just give a bit of background on that. About probably a couple of years ago, Skate Nelson Bays came to this committee and presented to public forum looking for a space to have a regional, decent Olympic-sized skate park. And they had joined up with the Lions, host Nelson Lions, and have really good fundraising capabilities, and were proposing to fundraise 80% of it. So the committee at the time included it in the Capital Works program, and that's followed through into where we're at now. Originally, we were looking at a space in Circus Green, which is down the Nelson City Council end next to Saxton Road. There's currently an artificial cricket wicket on it, and that was quite suitable from a lot of perspectives. It has retail over the road. It's close enough to toilets, but it is quite close to residential, and we had some discussion. We met on site with residents, and there was some. Yeah, they didn't like it. So we've continually looked for other areas, and we've since found a location on Champion Green, Avery Field, which is on the Saxton Field side of Saxton Field. Sorry, the Tasman District Council owned bit of Saxton Field. So that's created a little bit of an internal administration fun, because up until then Nelson City Council had been leading it, and so we've continued to lead it, and we've taken it through to the procurement for the design, which has now happened, and we've got a bit of an agreement that once that's all sorted and the concept design's done, we'll hand that project over to the Tasman staff to take forward, since it's on Tasman land. At this stage it's very much in the planning still. We have engaged Rich Landscapes. We went through a procurement process, and they're the ones that won the tender for the concept, and that's in the process of being done now. So there's nothing really further to report on that. I imagine in future committees or meetings we can come back and present what that looks like.
Timo. Thanks, Paul. And do you think you could give us a bit more background? I mean, I'm new to the committee too, so it's the first time I'm hearing about an Olympic-sized regional skate park in our region. Can you tell us a little bit more about the background as to where the need has arisen from? I know we've got a skate park here in Richmond, we've got one in Wakefield, I'm sure you've got one in Nelson somewhere. Why do we need another skate park, and why of that scale?
Sure, through the chair, I can try my best to paraphrase the presentations that Skate Nelson Bays have given to the community and the councils. What might be useful is if I circulate the documentation that they've provided as well. They articulated the current skate parks in Nelson get people to a certain level, but there's nowhere further, so they can't actually develop and to get into national and international competitions. That was one of the primary ones. The other one was a lot of them aren't very inclusive. They want to encourage more female skaters. It's currently, there's a whole lot of reasons where there's just that progression doesn't exist. The size of the ones we have currently is also not big enough to cater for the numbers of people that often want to turn up. So yeah, there's a whole lot of reasons behind it, and I'd have to come back to you on all of them, but they presented a pretty good case to the committee at the time.
Do we know anything about the cost attached to building this and how that would potentially be divided?
It's significant. They are looking to do it in phases. Off the top of my head, I think it's looking to about 2 or 3 million for the whole thing, and they would be funding 80% through their Lions affiliation fundraising. I think the first phase is around 800,000, and councils are putting in around 80 each, I think, that worked out the split. So it is a pretty good deal for the communities if they do get that fundraising. It does go ahead. At this stage, it's pretty early days still, but that's looking positive. Yeah, and it wouldn't be just a big. The other thing that I've seen come through in the designs is that it would be really well landscaped with greenery, and it's not just a big concrete thing. It's got lots of space for seating and lighting and planted green areas. So it's
Thank you.
Paul, just a quick question as well. I think I'm right, but it may be wrong. Councils won't give their percentage of the funding until the Lions have raised their 80%, correct?
That's correct, yeah. Yep. And the next item is the inclusive play space, which I might pass on to my Tasman colleagues.
Could I invite William Morrison to the table, please, to provide the committee with an update on that? Thanks, Will.
Got it, Koto. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Will Morrison, and I'm the Senior Landscape Architect for Kumano, based in Nelson and working on projects across Te Tauhu as a whole. The Saxton play space has gone through a survey stage, through a lot of consultation with both user groups and the wider public. We've consolidated that information, and then we're now into the design stage. The initial concept has gone back out for review with those consultation groups, and we're just completing the amendments for that now, with budgets and consent documentation sort of going through at the moment, over the next month or so, ready for tender and stages as per the, I guess, the project and the Capital Works program.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? All good. Thank you.
I'm happy to skip over the next one, given there's a report, but I'll just briefly, the Saxton Oval outfield is pretty much at the end of its life, and we are short on the budget for the renewal. So there's a report coming to the committee later in the meeting on that one. Is there no questions on that for now? Yep.
When you say it's at the end of its life, does that refer to any particular use of that green? Is it only at the end of its life for a particular level of cricket, or how should we understand that?
Yeah, so it's a sand carpet turf, and it's got drainage, it's got a sand carpet, it's got irrigation. Over a time, the sand carpet gets contaminated with organic matter, get worms going up and down, and the drainage suffers from it eventually. So on top of that, the drainage has issues as well. It's a good question. It really comes down to the international warrant of fitness, that this is not going to pass or fail. But at the same time, these assets do need renewing over time anyway. So if it's going to be maintained at the same level to have a sand carpet turf, then it needs replacing. And I can speak for the same at Trafalgar Park, which doesn't have international cricket, but after a while it doesn't drain properly. And 6 or 7 years ago, we had to excavate it out and replace it. Right, so moving on to operational updates. This is where we sort of move into the maintenance and the operations, not just the green spaces, but the stadia as well. Just a comment there that the new contract is bedded in well. Green by Nature on the Nelson side, that's changed last year, so that we're seeing really good results there. And there's a bit of work been happening at Saxton Stadium as well. At the time of writing, it was getting a sand and a recoat, which is quite a big job. And then just reading from the report actually that there's some LED lighting programmed in as well. And the carpet at the pavilion was renewed last year. So I don't have any more information on that personally, but there are others in the room. If there are any questions on the operational things, we've got Emily and Manfred sitting at the back who look after that stuff.
Well, it's probably more to come to the workshop we're going to have, but just some questions of maintenance. I knew there was a new contract, and my understanding through the grapevine is that Nelson City saved some money because it was a contract in relation to all your parks and reserves, as I understand it. So was there a benefit to Tasman, seeing as we pay half the cost of that? So you don't have to answer that question now, but I'd be interested to know, because budgets are tight. And the other question I'd like to have covered in the workshop, Paul, is the use of venues. I visit Saxton Field on a regular basis because I only live 200 yards from the border. So you'll see me there a lot, and I'm there every Saturday. And the use of some venues gives me some concern that they're not being used. And there are people paying another version of a certain sport on what I consider a substandard venue. So it's between baseball and softball. I think we could better utilise the facilities we've got there that considerable money has been put into in the past. So I'd like you to come back to the use of that at some stage in the workshop. I know they don't necessarily two sports get on terribly well if they're competing for the same players, but we need to use that venue as best we can. So there's 2 questions for that workshop from that. Thank you.
Item number 6, there's just a comment there on the Saxton activity management plan, and that a workshop is going to be pulled together. And I imagine it might be the same workshop that we cover everything off. Yeah, we have a standalone activity management plan for Saxton Field, which is quite valuable. It means that the 2 councils can work together and put everything into one document rather than having them sort of, prior to that, they were both sitting as chapters in each other's parks activity management plans, and it was a bit disjointed. Number 7, development plan. We have a large, well, printed out a big development plan, which is a map of Saxton Field, and has drawings of everything that's been done and that is proposed. And from time to time, bring that to the committee and just get it updated and endorsed, the update endorsed. There's a list of things in here that have changed since the last one, so probably would bring that to a workshop as well, and we can run through them with you, and then subsequent to that, to the committee for approving. The next item just has a few events that are either have been or will be out there. They're all in the future. A couple of Stags games, and then a T20 final. And that's the end of the activity report.
Great, thank you, Paul. And just highlighting on the events here, actually, that last weekend, we hosted Super League of Futsal. So Palmerston North chose Nelson as a home because there was no venues in Palmerston North, and Football New Zealand funded them in Canterbury to come here. And what I found quite exciting about it was fully funded by New Zealand Football. They said it was the first time, so didn't want to seek any funding from any sponsors or anyone in Nelson. So I thought congratulations to them, and it seemed like a well attended an event. All right, so thank you very much. Now it says here, ask for a mover and a seconder. So I'm happy to move this. I just wonder if we can just put under there just a slight amendment noting that a joint workshop and site visit will be held with the committee to go over Saxton Field. Just workshop and site visit. I'm happy to. Yep, thank you. I'm happy to move that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Timo.
I'll second it.
Is there any debate? Don't know if anyone want to debate it. No, put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. And we now come to the resolution to move into confidential session. And I'll just read it out again, that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting. The general subject matter for each item be considered while the public is excluded. The reason for passing this resolution in relation to each matter and the specific grounds under section 48(1) of the Local Government Information and Meetings Act 1987, and for the passing of this resolution as follows. This resolution is made in relation on section 48(1) of the Local Government Information Act and Meetings Act 1987, and particular interests be protected by section 6 and 7 of the Act, which will be precluded by the holding of the whole or relevant parts of this proceeding. So we just need to a mover and a seconder to move into confidential. Thank you, Kit. Do I have a seconder? So we're going to move the late item first. So I'm quite happy to move that we receive the late item. Do we have a seconder for the late item? Thank you, Kit. Can I do both at the same time? And that we move into confidential. So Kit's happy to move. I'm happy to second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Cool. Thank you. And we thank those that have been in the